Good Wednesday morning to you. Hope you're having a great week so far. Let me know. You can drop me a note in the comments or message me how I can pray for you. So in this edition of our devotion, we're going to continue to look at 1 John chapter 2. We're going to look at the rest of verse 7. Yesterday, we just focused on the word beloved. And to answer the question, how we ought to love, we have to remember who we are. A lot of our anger, bitterness, frustration, all of that is because we forget who we are. We're God's children. So today we want to continue to look, and we will again look at the rest of verse 7. And what we really want to look at is we want to recognize that love is not a new way. To put it in a little bit different phrase, love is foundational to all that we do. You remember in 1 Corinthians 13, Paul wrote the greatest of these things is love. He talked about faith, hope, and love. And love is just foundational for everything that we do in life. To please God, the author of Hebrews says we must believe in Him, have faith, and that faith produces in us a God-honoring, God-glorifying love. So let me read verse 7 and then we'll make a few comments. 1 John 2:7, Beloved, I'm writing to you no new commandment, but an old commandment that you heard from the beginning. The old commandment is the word that you have heard. Now there's a couple of ways to interpret the old commandment that you heard. And many believe this refers back to when they heard the gospel. And if this audience is primarily Jews, they had heard about love in the Old Covenant. We're going to talk about that later in the week. But what they did, and we'll talk about this too, is the gospel is a message of love, of God's love for us by sending Jesus Christ to die on the cross for sinners. Paul reminded them that Jesus died while we were still sinners. Not while we were good enough, but while we were as bad can be. We were separated from God. So, second, we should recognize that love is not a new way of faith. John wants us to know that he's not introducing a new topic. This is not a new virtue that has been created by God. Love has always been the call of God on His people. That is the expectation, that we're to love Him and to love others. Moses wrote about this way back in Deuteronomy when he said, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might." And that's Deuteronomy chapter 6. And when Jesus was asked, what is the greatest commandment? He quoted that. Now, he also introduced or quoted another passage, Leviticus chapter 19. He says, you shall not take vengeance nor bear any grudge against the sons of your people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. And so we see the foundational love right there. Paul's saying, I'm not writing anything new, or John's saying, I'm not writing anything new. This is a commandment that's been around since the creation of the world. Love. When you read the prophets, you'll discover that the Jews lost their first love. They chased after the things of this world. So I want you to think about this week, about your love and how that is a witness of the greatness of God. Have a good day.